today's episode, I would probably say if you're going to watch one episode of the curriculum, this is the one that you need to make sure you watch and take notes. And this is my career right here. This is, we call it the Strength Coach Tricks of the Trade. And it's, like I said, it's probably the most influential staff development we do with our interns every semester. So it's really what I've learned in the last 6 years of my career. You know, I started coaching in 2012. And these are the things that I've picked up, what I've seen from the people around me that have allowed me to be successful, what I've seen that has allowed them to be successful, some things I've learned that have allowed people to not be successful. And it's kind of broken up into three main realms of coaching, of life, and then of organization, of how I split this thing up. So I can't tell you how much I believe in these main principles of what we're about to go over, and it's what I live my life by. So it ain't science, it ain't physiology in this episode. It is it's facts, and it's what allowed me to get the results I've gotten so far, and allowed the people on my staff to be successful as well. So enjoy, take lots of notes, guys, and we'll see you over there. Staff development we do in the summertime, which you guys have done once before. And every winter, it's typically one of the first ones we do, but like I said, it's really good to always refresh on this stuff, but we just call it Strength Coach Tricks of the Trade, and I break it into really four main pieces, and it's just kind of what I've picked up in the 7 years that I've been coaching now. So I kind of break it into coaching lessons, life lessons, from an organizational standpoint of things that have really helped us be successful here. And then on some financial things, because I know my 23-year-old self, I wish I knew a lot of the things that I know now financially, which we've talked a little bit about. So just running through the stuff, and then obviously if anybody has any comments, or everyone's had different experiences, so feel free to chime in. I think probably as you guys coach, the biggest thing as you guys are learning and looking at other coaches is not necessarily just looking at what to do, but also looking at what not to do. That's one of the best things about being able to sit back and watch situations unfold is you can see things that worked very well, that rallied guys up, and you can see things that didn't work so well, or you can see even when your colleagues have failures trying, and it's not, like I said, as long as you grow from it, it's not a failure, but we all mess stuff up. We all get into a confrontational situation, and maybe you wish you would have handled it this way, or you watch one of your colleagues handle something and maybe you notice that it worked really well or didn't work really well. And it's imperative to take those notes mentally and even physically write them down sometimes, but to learn from those experiences. Like I tell you guys, the only way to really learn to be able to deal with confrontation and leading 105 dudes and being able to discipline and run a group is experience. So I want all the experience I can get. So experience from myself personally, I'm watching you guys and seeing how you guys handle situations on a daily basis, and I'm always evaluating those things. And I think that's what allowed me to be so prepared when I took over when I was 23 years old, is I'd always ran those things in my head. But one thing that I learned very quickly is about authenticity. When you're coming up, you kind of have idols or people you see. For me, when I was down at LSU, Tommy Moffitt, watching him work with athletes, I was just like, man, the way he gets them to respond. But that was something I idolized. I was like, that's what I want to do. But you can't mimic another coach. You just can't do those things. You have to find your own style, and it's something that everybody here has a different coaching style, and that's fine. I think people think you have to be this rah-rah, typical, template to be a strength and conditioning coach, but it's just not the truth. You need to be yourself. So players are way smarter than we give them credit for. They can read right freaking through you, and that's the absolute truth. When you try to be something that you're not, they read right through you. And it's something that I sat down with you two, and I said, you guys got to find your confrontational style. I told you guys that, and it's not going to be the same way that I handle things, that Coach Owens, Coach Green, Coach Harris handle things. It's all different. Everybody has a different piece of it, but you have to authentically find your way of handling those situations, or else they'll read right through you if you try to mimic someone else. So as you're searching for your coaching style, be authentic, be yourself, and don't try to mimic other people, because players will see right through it. So that's number one. The biggest thing I've seen people have huge successes with or massive failures with is when they try to mimic someone else's coaching style. It's not authentic, and the players just go, no, thank you. I don't need that. So they're very smart with that. Number two is very important, and it's super hard for people to realize this. But I can tell you, when I started learning the most in this industry was when I realized that I did not know shit. And the thing about this is the most messed up thing about exercise science is the more books you read, the more podcasts you listen to, the more you realize you do not fucking know anything. And it's just the truth. And it's like the most frustrating thing, because you're reading to get yourself better, and then you learn something new, and all you're doing is learning that there's another thing you have no freaking idea about. So everybody has this epiphany at some point, and if you don't have the epiphany, you're never going to be successful in the career. But once you realize that you don't know shit in this industry is when you can finally truly start to learn, and that's just the case. I always say, I literally feel almost dumber every day when I read, because I'm reading and I'm learning, and I'm like, gosh, I've been doing this, I'm a director, I need to know this stuff, how did I know that? But I've accepted that, I've accepted, and that's why I'm so open to listening to everybody around me and just trying to absorb knowledge, because there's something that you know about something that I don't know. Same thing with everybody in this room, and so I'm trying to get that. Like, even when you guys read, I'm jealous. I hate coming in here and seeing your notes on the desk about the Vershansky stuff you're reading, because I want to read it too. I want to know what you're learning, and so it's that's one of my biggest battles I have. But once you learn you don't know shit, you can start to learn in this industry, and that's just the case. Because I'm sure you guys probably all thought, probably everyone in here thought, I can remember being 16 and thinking, there's one way to do it. I gotta find that one way, the one way the university does it, well, there's not. There's a million different ways to do things, and all the Power 5 schools do it, different ways and different pieces, but there's different teams winning national championships every year. So obviously, a multitude of things work, and just like I said, realizing that and putting your ego aside is absolutely massive. And then kind of moving on that too is know what you don't know. I think that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest issues is people, they don't know the things that they don't know. And being able to be comfortable enough to say, man, I don't know anything about that, and that, but knowing that is what allows you to learn those things. So know what you don't know is absolutely essential with that. And then here's a huge thing that this is the biggest thing I took from Moffitt, and I had no idea what he was telling me when he said it, but one day he came up to me and he said, it's not what you look at, it's what you see. It's not what you listen to, it's what you hear. And I was like, what is that? I was watching a power clean, I think, when he came up and said it to me, and I didn't know what the hell what he meant. And so I kind of sat there and thought about it for a minute. And what he's saying is anybody here, I can hire anybody off the street to come watch a power clean. That's great. You can stand there and watch it, but what do you see? Can you see that they're not getting triple extension? Can you see that the bar path is going too far away from their body, so they're catching it too far anteriorly? Can you see those things? I don't give a shit what you're looking at. That's great. If you can't see it, it's not what you listen to. You can listen to Charles Poliquin and all his podcasts, but if you can't hear what he's saying and absorb it, it doesn't matter. You read all the books, if you can't absorb it, it doesn't matter. So it's not what you look at, it's what you see. It's not what you listen to, it's what you hear. I think that's a huge thing that separates people in this industry. So that's been huge for me coaching wise. Another thing I took from Coach Moffitt, don't be a coach that puts the blame on them. Ownership, own your shit. It is a big piece of it. So, I can remember the summer I was down at LSU. I don't remember the exact scenario, but, someone was trying to front squat and, he just can't do it. And Moffitt was like, no, he can do it. Why don't you find a different fucking way to get him to do it? And I think that's so easy. This kid just can't sprint right. Oh, this kid just can't do it back. This kid just doesn't get it. And we do all this instead of saying there's 120 different kids out there. You got to find a different coaching cue. Just screaming. If I just keep screaming, elbows up, elbows up, elbows up, well, it's fucking clearly not working. So why don't we try a different coaching cue? But if you can constantly be a coach that doesn't put the blame on them, and you sit down and say, I need to find a way that I can reinsert myself and communicate with them differently. And it's just the same principle as you can know everything in the world. If you can't coach it or teach it, what is it useful in this industry? It's not. You can be the smartest motherfucker in the planet. If you don't know how to communicate that intelligence to an athlete and get results, or to your staff to an athlete, it's pretty much worthless. So that's a huge piece of it, for sure. And you guys have heard me talk about this before, but every day is an interview, forever and always. beat the boss in, never leave before he does. There's a reason why he is where he is. I'll work him, and you're putting yourself in a great situation. That's just pretty simple. You know, like to me, I like to study the habits of extremely successful people. So if there's somebody in a seat that I want to be in, I'm gonna look at their habits. I'm gonna study them, and I'm gonna not just do what they do. I'm gonna attempt to do what they do better than they do. And if I can do that, I'm setting myself up pretty well to be sitting in that chair someday. And that's got to be your mentality every day. But I think the biggest issue with America and young people is this idea of an interview. On your big interview day, you're gonna put your nice freaking suit on, you're gonna put your tie on, your tie clip, your nice dress, your nice heels, and then you're gonna go, I'm gonna impress the shit out of these people today. I'm gonna go kill this interview. And imagine if you had that mentality every day when you woke up and hit that alarm clock that today's my big interview day. And if you can kind of combine those two ideas and attack every day like that, you're gonna do okay. You know, you're gonna do pretty well in life. So that's a big thing that's helped me get to where I've been able to get to. Do little things that show you take pride in what you do. I can't tell you how much that separates interns and staff members from other people. Just like the minute little shit that nobody wants to do, the people that are extremely meticulous, that really want to be successful in this thing, they make those the biggest deal, the biggest jobs, you know, ever. And the thing is like, you know, yeah, maybe, you know, sometimes I sit there and like, man, I overdo this, and this, and yeah, maybe we spend too much, but I'd rather do that. Have someone say, man, this is, you know, you probably spent too much time doing this. I'd still rather, that's still my mentality today. If you give me the tiniest job, like, you know, Coach Bowden loves his body weight sheet. Well, we're going to make sure, you know, we still double, triple check it every day. We still make sure from an organizational standpoint, I want that to be the best body weight sheet in the freaking country. How stupid is a body weight sheet? I mean, right? You could give a piece of pen and paper with just handwritten, that'd be probably fine, be efficient, but it's not the way I want to do things. So, having that mentality on the little meticulous things, that's what stands out the most. You know, I think anybody can get excited for a really big job. If I said, hey, Sophia, I want you to go train this group of guys. Yeah, that's a big deal. Wow, you have to train these guys. I'm going to really do a good job with it. But when I say, hey, Sophia, go make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, when they're shitty and sloppy, and you know that doesn't do you any justice. You know, so you want to take pride in those little things. That's what I notice way more than the big things. I think anybody can get up for the big things. Can you get up for the little things? You can know all the programming in the world. You can be an Excel king. You can have 6 degrees, 5 certifications, but never forget the number one quality you can possess is the ability to coach. Okay, that is the end all be all. You can be as smart as you want. I don't necessarily need that. I need dudes that can motivate players to want to do what we want them to do, and that's the most valuable trait you can have. What do you bring to the table? I can freaking coach. I can get 100 dudes on a freaking line and convince them to want to run. I can convince them to want to squat, want to work out. That is absolutely massive, absolutely imperative in strength and conditioning. If you can do that, you will go far in this industry. And then the last thing I'll steal from Coach Moffitt, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. I mean, I'm sure someone before Moffitt said it, it's just, he said it to me as I was walking out of the door to come back up here. Back in 2012, and it's just, you know, it's stuck with me, and it always will stick with me. It's not the what's, it's the hows. You know, that thing, I say it all the time. You know, our program. You know, some coaches are so protective over their programs. I'll share anything with anybody because I'm very confident you're not going to outwork me and my staff. Just period. You know, like I said, if Kent State's coach tomorrow called me and said, hey, you know, can we get your program? I would say, fuck yeah, I'll send it to you in the mail tomorrow because you're not going to run it like we run it. So I'm not worried about sharing it with you. It's so much more about the how than it is about the actual what, the program itself. It's how you run it. So there's obviously more things than just that, but that's kind of the coaching pieces of what the main points that I think have really contributed to my success, to the coaches that I've seen be successful, kind of the commonalities, the traits, and I'm sure those work much more than just coaching. That's kind of a life thing right there. So any additions or any questions or comments about any of that?
You have to know your crowd. You have to know who you're coaching. Mm-hmm. So I mean, the other day I had one kid who was killing it and another kid that was just dogging it the whole time. So I mean, I literally had to tell one kid good job while turning my head and telling the other kid to get it together and trying to figure out if he wants to be here or not. So I mean, it's just, you can't tear down that kid that's doing a good job because you're tearing down, like getting a kid to figure it out. So I mean, it's just how you approach different guys too, because some guys come from different home lives.
I think that's in a bigger perspective. That's one of the hardest things still for me to do is, we have a workout, and in the reality, if we have 100 guys, out on the field, we're running, we're having a team run. Well, if you have 5 guys that are being dicks, unfortunately, we focus on those 5 guys, and you think, and those 5 guys take a lot of your energy and distraction, and so you're sitting there in that workout thinking, man, this is a shitty workout. But in reality, you have 95 guys that are freaking crushing it. And there's been times that I've let those 5 guys get the best of me, and I'm sitting there, lighting into our team or something about those 5 dudes, and you're in a bad mood for 2 hours after the workout, and you finally sit there and you're like, damn, you know what? We had 95 guys kill this freaking workout today, and I'm sitting here focused on the 5 that didn't. So I think that's a huge point. And that's something I still struggle with. And I definitely was my biggest struggle as a young coach when I'm sitting there like, man, like I'm beating myself up over these, especially when you're turning around this program. We had 15 dudes for the first 3 years that just weren't going to do it. They just weren't going to freaking work. They weren't going to buy in. And I, there were some days that I just let those 15 dudes get the best of me, the team, and instead of focusing on the 90% of the guys that were freaking crushing it. So I think it's a really good point on both ends, being able to just combat that and focus and stay positive. That's a good point for sure.
Another thing also with the coaching is this is probably another segment, but when we talk about our principles and knowing ourselves, it's like you want to know your why. Why do you wake up every morning at 4 o'clock to be here? Why do you love this job? Why do you do what you do? And that goes with the principles that we have when we'll go through that other staff development. We'll be a coach of principles and what is it? Principles, not aspects versus principles. You want to be a principle-based coach, and that's knowing your why. So everything that you do, everything that you say, all the interactions that you have to be for a reason, and it has to be meaningful. And it has to mean something to you, along with knowing that it's going to mean something to them, because we're not just coaching them in the weight room, but we're coaching them to be better football players, and hopefully that will translate to be better within their day-to-day life, where they'll be attacking their assignments in class, being a better boyfriend, and things of that nature. So know what principles that you live by, however you were raised, and that's going to develop your why into why you want to coach and why you want to do this and why this is so important to you. And that's going to develop the love that you have for the profession. That's real big on my end, so that's what I think about every morning.
Absolutely, you have to, because there's some long days in this
Long
industry.
days.
You gotta be able to do
You gotta
it.
love it, baby.
What else? Anything else?
Going back to the teaching thing, like if you have a group of like 60 guys, like if one dude's not learning it, he's probably not the only dude that's getting it wrong too. So it goes back to that 80% in general. Like if 80% of the dudes are getting it, there's always those like couple guys that aren't. So even if you figure out coaching cues for those guys that aren't getting it, it'll probably help those guys that were getting it like pull it even harder or get to that movement that they need to get to even more.
Awesome thing with that too, and we learned this winter, but so it's hard to evaluate yourself sometimes when you're coaching a big group. But one thing to think about, so if I coach an exercise and I say, all right, we're gonna do this, and this. If this is the new exercise, every player comes out, they do it perfectly. How is my coaching? Probably pretty freaking good, right? Okay, if one guy comes out, okay, and he messes it up, everybody else has it right, how is my coaching? Probably pretty freaking good. If 15 guys fuck up the drill for 4 straight reps, how is my coaching? Probably not pretty good. So those are things that you can't sit, that's what I'm talking about, not pointing the finger, but that's a point in time saying, okay, however I explained this was really messed up, so I need to change that and do it this way or that way or whatever. I think that's a great evaluation point, and that's what the name of the game is constantly be evaluating yourself on how you did, what you could do better, and that's definitely, in a group setting, that's a huge way to evaluate what you're doing as a coach, for sure.
Yeah, I have an example of that.
Yeah, well, we've all been there. We've all been there, right? Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, are we good there on the coaching stuff? Anything else? Good. Beautiful. All right. So the next piece I have here is life, And this is probably where some people will cut this episode off and say this guy is an idiot, doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what? This is what I live by, and I'm not too worried about the thoughts of other people. So, I mean, first and foremost, my family will always be first. Okay, I will lose a job in an interview before I ever put myself in a situation where my family cannot be first. I will always coach in a family first environment. If there's a coach, and that means I have to turn down a job because of, you know, there's no kids allowed in the weight room, or, you know, your wife's not allowed, I'm not doing it. My family will always come first to me no matter what. And I don't care what the situation is. I'll always make sure that's known in the interview. I think that's a big thing to know is before you go in to take the job, that's something that I'm going to bring up. Coach, you know, if they offer me a job, coach, what is your philosophy on family? You know, do you allow kids to be around the facility? You know, wives, you know, do we have time off to where I can spend time with my family? You know, how do you feel about this and weddings, whatever it may be? But those are conversations I'm going to have before I put myself in a situation. So, and it's not like that everywhere in the country, and that's fine. I don't, you know, if just because someone has a different opinion than me doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just not going to work for me. And I know that. I know that for me to be able to coach to my best of my ability, to be a happy human being, I have to have my family around me, near me. So that's essential. So that's number one. And that's what Coach Bowden's the best I've ever seen about being a family guy. He is, you know, there was a time that one of my best friends was getting married, and I didn't want to leave. I was the best man at the wedding, but it was in the middle of summer training. And I don't even know how he heard about it. I didn't say anything to him, but I wasn't going to go. And he literally said, "You're going to that wedding. Go. You need to be there." And that was important to me. That was kind of really when it solidified in for me that you know, this, you can coach, you can coach hard and still have fun and do those kind of things. So that's number one. That's huge. Make time for all aspects of your life, and notice the word I use there. Make time. There's never a good time. You know, I finally got a freaking dog last year, which you guys obviously all met Rock. And the only reason I hadn't got one at that point, because I just always said, you know, I just don't have time for a dog. I still don't have time for a dog. I make time for a dog, and the dog makes me fucking happy. So I'm glad I did it. You don't ever have time to go golfing, but you make time to golf because it relaxes you and it makes you happy. So just understanding that concept that you're never going to have time for church. You're never going to have time for family. Like, those things are that you make time for those things. You're never going to have time for vacation. You make time for those things in this industry, and you have to. So I think that word is huge in their understanding. You have to make time for those things. Make time for weddings. Those things are huge in this industry. Because we're so dialed into what we do. We work our asses off. We know that. You know, I don't think anybody in this country works harder than we do, loves what they do more than we do, but I have no problem enjoying life. I just don't. I just have, you know, avoid the burnout. I definitely think it exists, and you know, most people that start in this industry and strength and conditioning, they don't retire in it. And I've heard a statistic before. I just don't remember what it is, but it's not a very popular retirement industry. Most people get out of this thing when they're 40, 50 years old because they can't deal with with burnout anymore. So just make sure you avoid that. Don't work every day, all day. When you can get away, do it. Kind of what I'm talking for. Making time for the other things. Avoid wasteful hours. One thing that we try to do here as much as humanly possible. We try to have a very efficient process what we do, so we're not just sitting around, you know, waiting for whatever it may be. So be efficient, and that's a huge piece of it. This career is a hell of a ride. You have to have a significant other who understands it and appreciates it, and you have to be upfront with them. You can't be with someone who will resent you for the things you'll ask them to go throughout your career. And it's like I said, I mean, what we do, when somebody asks me what I do, well, I change lives every day. You know, I'm affecting 100 plus kids' lives on a daily basis, and a staff, and that's what I do. That's why I'm here. That's why I wake up every morning. But you know, I need a woman next to me that isn't okay with that. That appreciates that makes her heart full or his heart full, to see me changing lives. And yes, we're gonna have to move a lot. And yes, you know, maybe we'll have a year where we don't have a job, but you know, my calling on earth wasn't to make one woman happy. I feel like my calling on earth was to change people's lives. And so you need to have someone that's bought into that. If you don't, they will resent every move you ever made. You know, oh, you made me move to Florida. Oh, you made me move to Texas. You made me move to California.
Those are all pretty good places.
And yeah, I mean, and that does, or I didn't take this job because you had to go. It's got to be a team atmosphere at home when you guys find a woman and she is absolute, or a man, and they've got to be on board for this journey. If they're not, either you need to change your whatever you want to do, or you need to change the person that you're sleeping with at nighttime. So that's a huge piece of it. And then the last part of life, and I kind of already hit this already, but enjoy the freaking ride, okay? And a few different things that means is, you know, summer training, obviously, you know, it's we freaking work our asses off. We're in here all the time, and it's a very physical, hands-on job. Training camp, we're here, you know, 14, 15 hours, a very physical, hands-on, intense job. But this sport will take you to some of the coolest. I mean, we're about to be, you know, at Penn State with 107,000 people around us screaming, live television. When would you ever be in that scenario if it wasn't for this game? You know, when we get to the bowl game, I'm in Idaho. You know, when the hell would I have gone to Idaho? I'm standing on top of a freaking mountain looking at the Rocky Mountain Range. When would I have done that if it wasn't for football? Just the thing, you know, you're on charter planes. You know, you're sitting there on a charter plane. You don't even go through security. You get a back exit into a freaking airport and you walk. I mean, it's like there's things that you just need to sit back and soak in. You know, all the NFL guys, those things at the end of the day, they're normal to us now, but you have to take a second to sit back and enjoy those pieces of it. If you don't, it doesn't make it worth it. I mean, that's, like I said, that's what makes all of the hard work, all of the turmoil, all of the you know, the volatility in this industry. That's what makes it all worth it. So knowing that is massive. And then, like I said, I think there are way too many strength. I mean, freaking Louis Simmons, you know, he said he hasn't left Columbus. He's never taken a vacation his entire life. He hasn't left Columbus unless it was to go to a powerlifting or a fighting event. Like, you know, that's been, you know, he's obviously done his part in this industry to get as much knowledge out, and that's great, and I'm very grateful for it, but that is not my freaking life, okay? This world is massive, and there's so much to explore, and there's so many different kinds of people and animals and foods and cultures. I just think it's for us to be absorbed in this bubble and to feel guilty about taking vacations and exploring it is just out of control, especially for how much we work. You know, if we get 4 weeks off a year, I'm taking those 4 weeks off, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. And I have no problem telling my athletes that. My athletes know that I work my ass off. They know how hungry I am. They know I don't want to just be a good strength coach. I want to be the best fucking strength coach in the country. They know that. So I have no problem, you know, taking my family and going on a vacation for a week and having some freaking fun. I'm not going to feel guilty about it, you know. I just think it's essential. As strength coaches, like, our personalities are all pretty similar to where, like, we're work. We've always been guys that just grind for everything we've got in our lives. And that's pretty much across the board in this industry. And, you know, I can remember when I was, you know, my first couple years in this thing, like, I would legitimately feel guilty when I was, like, you know, in Florida, Key West on vacation for a week, even though I just got out of a season where I worked 20 straight weeks, you know, 12 hours a day, busting my ass, read 30 plus books, you know, did all this development, and I still felt guilty. I'm just sitting there like, why? Life's just too short for that. So that stuff is just essential to be able to get away and enjoy your life as well. And I don't hide it. I'm not afraid that, you know, I'm open to, you know, explaining, you know, how I enjoy vacationing, but I also work my ass off. So I just think that's a piece that we miss sometimes. Life's a lot bigger than strength and conditioning, and remembering that, I think, is huge. Anything else to add there, guys, or any questions about life?
Makes you appreciate this a lot more. You really, like, for example, we went to Florida, Orlando for the CSCCA, and even though that was, you know, a development for us, you know, we got a chance to go out and see some people we haven't seen in damn near a year, and you just appreciate a lot more when you come back to work. So being with your family, being with, you know, relatives you don't see all the time, when you come back here, you appreciate this bond that we have sitting in this room, you know, with one purpose in mind. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. What else? Anything else anyone's learned on the road? The road of strength and conditioning? Get really good at sleeping on couches.
Cars, air mattresses, and
I think too, like, it's just really cool when you can drive into work every day and you're still just like, holy shit, this is what I do. Like, it's not like you're not just like, you know, you're not googly eyed about it, but you just seriously, like, people ask me what I do, And when I tell them, like, my frat light up, they look at me and then I ask them what they do, and they're like, "Oh, I'm a teacher from this." And it's just different. It's different, and it's just crazy that you can do something and like be that jacked up about it.
Think about getting off of Route 8 and seeing the stadium lit every morning. That shit's sweet.
That's crazy.
That shit's sweet.
A lot of people say that, but like to feel that when you're driving into work, it's different. It's different, man.
Yeah, seeing those kids every morning is knowing you're coming to see those dudes, and it's some powerful shit, that's for sure.
You walk in,
Yeah.
But even in the grind though, like when you're doing it for free, like with internships, you still love doing it. You do it for like a year or two, and people are like, "Why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep doing it?" Like, dude, it's the best thing ever. Like you get to be around all these dudes that have high energy, and you get to help them get better, and you get to be with them every day, and you get to see them develop. Like that's pretty cool.
Dude, I seriously, I can specifically remember as an intern being like, I'm so happy and I'm not getting paid and I'm working like I'm seriously must be fucked up in the head. And then when I got promoted to an assistant, and I'm like, I was making $16,000 a year, which most people would laugh at. And when I got that first paycheck, I was like, oh my God, like look at, like, I'm making money like to do this. And then when I got the director position, I was like, oh my God, like this is like, they're gonna pay, like if I won the freaking lottery tomorrow, $1 billion, I would still do this every single day, which is, and how many people in this world could say that they would continue teaching or computer tech or whatever the hell they do? Would you continue to do it if you hit the lottery tomorrow and you were set for life and your kids were set for life? Would you seriously? I promised to God, hand to God, I would be in this office every freaking day doing what I do. That's not a joke, but that's just crazy. Just the blessing that we have just to be able to say that and do that is nuts. And I literally still live on the same budget I did as an assistant. I live off of $500 to $900 a month. I mean, I pay my bills, which are a little steeper now, but that's my monthly what I spend on life. You know what I mean? That hasn't changed because you just learn not to need it. Like when you can come and do this every day, you don't need very much stuff. Like I don't need to like go out to the bar every night and go out to dinner to feel like I did something productive with my day. Like, oh man, I'm not living life, so I need to go be on a kickball team and dodge. Like we don't need those kind of things because we come in and we live it all day. And so you realize you just don't freaking need very much. You're just happy freaking simple people. Love it. It's beautiful. Anything else on life? Life's pretty sweet, huh?
Love life.
Yeah.
Love life.
Pretty sweet. All right. So I'll do organization. I'm gonna go through this, and then I think we're gonna save financially for another one because that's probably we'll get in depth on the financial aspect, which a lot of freaking people don't even hear about. All right, but organization. All right, so first off, what I think the best thing I do from an organizational standpoint is how open and transparent I am. And I know sometimes, it takes people a minute to adjust to me with that because if you're fucking something up or I feel a certain way about you, I just say it. And, most people kind of sugarcoat things or like if I don't like your gray shirt, I'm going to say, hey, I don't like your shirt. I'm not going to say, hey, that blue shirt you have, I really like that one. Maybe you should wear that tomorrow. I'm just going to say, don't fucking wear that shirt. You might not like it. And that's just how I am. But that transparency, and I'm that same way with the people I work for, Coach Bowden. I'm that same way with my staff. I'm that same way with my athletes. And it doesn't change, but what that's opened up for me and lines of communication and relationships is maybe not everybody likes it right away, but I do really believe that everybody appreciates it. The last thing I would want is someone to tell me one thing and mean another thing, or tell me something in my face and then say something else behind someone else's back. Now, I still talk shit about every single one of you guys behind your backs, but I say it to your face as well. It's just a matter of who I see first. So if I'm pissed about something that Harris did and I see Green first, I'm gonna be like, yo, Green, why did Harris do this? He's an idiot. And then the second I see Harris, I'm say, Harris, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, why did you do this? And that's just the truth. This is how I am.
Great.
Yeah. Is he walking this way?
Oh shit, he's walking fast. Okay, great.
transparency, it's just, I don't think it's something that we're really trained to do anymore, like just to be really honest with people. And so that genuine and that authenticity, I just think people really appreciate it, and so it's reciprocated back to me, and that's just what I want. I don't want to waste time with all the gray area. I just want to know what I can do to get better, what I can tell you to do to get better, which makes us all better. So I just think that's been huge. And then not just transparency there, but transparency in my thought processes as to why we do what we do. You know, we discuss everything here. You know, we have responsibility meetings every Thursday where these guys go through and talk about their responsibilities and how they can do them better, or how they think that we could change them to do them better. When we program, I don't program with a closed door and say, hey, here's the program, everyone get ready to do it. I program with my door wide open and everybody in here, because you never know who could have an idea that might be better than what we're currently doing. So just transparency in general, I think, is so vital, and it helps so much in all aspects of life. And like I said, I don't necessarily think that everybody likes it all the time. I'm sure you guys don't probably all like it all the time, but I do believe everybody appreciates it, you know, and to know, because at the same time, then when I say, hey, you know, folks, you're doing a really good job, when you hear me say that, you're like, damn, that means I'm doing a really good job, like, because you know I wouldn't just say it to say it. And I probably could do a better job of giving out compliments more often, but I just think the transparency just helps so much. So the next point that goes into is the 2 E's, okay? And there's a whole stats on just on the 2 E's, but I'm open to changing things and maneuvering things, and I'm open to listening to new ideas, but it always comes down to efficiency and effectiveness is how I'm gonna evaluate it. So if you bring me an exercise that you believe is better than squats, and the research freaking all shows that it's right, you have a ton of results to back it, it's definitely 100% soundproof, it's more effective than squatting. That's great. All right, so now I'm listening, I'm interested. Okay, now is it more effective than squatting? Okay, we can only get whatever, it's some new machine. We can only afford one, and we can only fit one in this weight room. So is it more efficient than squatting here? No. So am I gonna change it? No. But if you can put something on the table for me that's more efficient than what we do, so it's either it's just as efficient or more efficient than what we're currently doing, and it's more effective than we're currently, why would I not change it? I would be an asshole, a stubborn asshole to not change it. If you can sit here and prove to me that this is more effective than what we're doing, it's more efficient, it fits into our program, why would I not change it? So I'm open-minded, but that's how I evaluate ideas. When I read books, when I read articles, when I'm listening to Vershansky, like, you know, those dudes all have great freaking brilliant ideas, but not all of them work here because maybe it's not as effective what we're doing, or it's not efficient for 50 guys to do it one time. So that's my thought process on that transparency of changing those things. Communication is massive. So I said this the other day, but you know, all the mistakes that we make on a weekly basis, whatever, we made 4 mistakes last week. What were all 4 of those mistakes based off of? Communication, right? It was never, like I said, we don't make effort-based mistakes here. We never do. No one just doesn't intentionally try. It's always a communication issue. So how important that is in organization, from, you know, whether it's the way I communicated with Coach Green communicated with Dave, it don't matter, but those issues always stem from communication in relationships, with administration, with the head football coach, within your staff. You have to have the ability to communicate. You can't be a good communicator, you will never have successful relationships. And that's just a fact. With organization, hey, control what you can control. Oh my God, there's so many things in this industry that we cannot control. So many variables. Even what we were talking about yesterday was the central nervous system. We do all this freaking programming, we plan all this stuff, we spend all this time getting these programs together, and then Joe Schmo could go out and freaking party, his girlfriend could break up with him, and he could fail an exam, and the program was for nothing. It's all for shit. Now, if I got so caught up on that and I let that affect my day and my personality and my attitude, you're never going to make it in this industry. You need to do, like I said, you need to focus on the things that you can control. If you can't do that, you will get eaten up, chewed up, spit out from this industry. You won't make it a freaking day. There's so many people that affect your life, so many variables. You have to focus on exactly, directly, what can you affect. And I don't evaluate myself on anything else. I don't. I can't control those things. I'll call you back.
Very good.
And that's just something you have to be able to do. Delegation, number 4, delegation. Man, that's a huge one. That was one of the hardest things for me when I first took over, just because I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be the best it could possibly be. I want everything to be perfect. And having the ability to delegate, it's harder than you think. Like, you know, if you just pass down a responsibility to someone else, it's not like you're just willing to pass it off and say, okay, that's it. So you don't want to be the guy that's over the shoulder the entire time, looking but at the same time you can't back away. So learning how to manage people, how to micromanage people, but that all it all stems from delegation. That's how we become an efficient unit. Is you have to be able to delegate. And if you're a good coach, you're a good teacher. When you delegate responsibilities, they're going to be able to do them. They're going to carry them out the way that they know is your standard of excellence. Okay, and then the last thing with this organization stuff is create relationships. And not just stacks of meat, make relationships with every person you see along this industry, with your being an assistant. How many people I've had come to this office now that work for me. I've developed a relationship with all of those people. It's not just a transactional relationship where I can give you something, you give me something. I give you knowledge, you give me work. That's not how this thing works. I want to know how your family is doing. I want to know what I can help in your personal life. How can I make you more comfortable? What can we do on a human-to-human basis? But when you have that mentality, it's not just a transactional relationship. When these NFL scouts come through, I want to know about their lives. I want to maybe there's something I can help them with, or they could help me with. You never know. But it's not just, okay, this is an NFL scout. I'm here to give him numbers. He's here to get numbers. I'm here to promote the players. He's here to get the information on the players. Transaction completed, separation. I don't believe in transactional relationships. People give with expecting something in return. Just having the ability to have a relationship with someone where it's just a servant's mentality. Okay, I'm just here to serve you and to help you. And then if we all have that relationship in this office, we all have this relationship on this team, think about how far we can go with that stuff. So that's kind of the 3 main pieces. So we have, like I said, you have coaching, you have life, you have the organizational aspects of what I've learned along the way. And hopefully this will be a lot. I'll continue to learn more and more stuff, but that's, people ask me what's gotten you where you are, what have you learned along this, upon your career. I pull this document up, and that's, I literally write or type everything down. And so these are the things that have made the cut of what I really think makes the difference in this industry. And like I said, I keep saying this industry, but I really believe these habits, these pieces will make you successful in every realm of life. So anything else anybody has?
When you're transparent, it makes the athletes more open, and they feel like they can come to you with like any situation. And then when you cut the bullshit, people respect you so much more.
Yeah, there's definitely that line that they know, if you're transparent with them when you say, all right, that's it, let's move on, they're gonna go for sure.
You gonna speak on serving another time?
Yeah, we're gonna well, we already kind of hit a little bit. That's a good how long did we just go?
42 minutes.
42 minutes. That's a good refreshing piece. Not a lot of physiology in this episode, but like I said, the hows are so much more important than the whats. In the last few episodes, we've done a lot of the whats. We've gone through the programming. We've gone through a lot of stuff, and this probably should have been the first one we did. Because if you have all that stuff dialed in, if you don't have the hows, how you do things, doesn't matter. Any questions? Anything? Nothing? Comments?
Yeah, something that I think is really cool that I've learned in the past 2 months was like understanding. Oh, here we go. Just like understanding that fucking up and messing up is okay. And the biggest thing I've learned is just start asking questions. Like, just ask the stupid questions. I made that mistake. I stepped into a role where I felt like I had to do everything right, and I should have known everything, and I didn't ask Coach Sleep enough questions. And it fucked me in the long run. It really did. It just didn't allow, and I didn't learn anything until we talked about it one day. So he's like, dude, just ask questions. Just ask them. And it's changed everything. But being okay to mess things up, God, it changes everything. Like, it's not that you want to, but when you do, just knowing, man, I was okay. I learned something. And that's a conversation Coach Sleep and I had a couple months ago during the hideaways. That just changed my perspective on a lot of things. Was really just being okay with failing fast. Just fail fast, get it done over, and let's roll. I think, a lot of times as this office, we demand excellence of ourselves. Coach Sleep demands a lot out of us. And those are the best coaches I ever played for, were guys that you expected to go to the plate and get a hit. Are you going to every time? No. You're going to be perfect every time when you do something? Absolutely not. But expecting that out of yourself, and when you do get out or you do pop up with the bases loaded, whatever it is, like, it's okay. Because you're going to freaking, next time you get up in that situation, you're going to do better. And I think young, especially myself, I struggled with that until this year. When I grew a lot, I got freaking uncomfortable, man, and I failed. I got hit hard. It was freaking awesome, and I learned a lot. And I think that's something that I wish I'd have learned, maybe 6 months ago when I first stepped in here at this role. Was that real fast, man.
Drop mic. That's a great way to end it, Coach. Very good. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next week.
The secret side of me, I never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't control.